David, the mighty king of Israel, a central figure in the Old Testament, a man after God's own heart, a warrior, a poet, a ruler. He conquered giants and expanded his kingdom, rising from a humble shepherd boy to the throne of Israel. Yet, beneath the golden crown and songs of victory lay a deeply troubled family life. Today, we explore David's greatest failures as a father and the powerful lessons we can learn from his story. The unraveling of David's household began with his son Amnon and daughter Tamar. Amnon was David's firstborn. He was consumed by an unholy obsession with his half-sister Tamar. His desire twisted into sickness, and he devised a deceitful plan to lure her into his chamber. Pretending to be ill, he requested that Tamar personally bring him food. When she came, he seized her. She pleaded, she reasoned, but he did not listen. He was stronger, and he did the unthinkable. In a single act of wickedness, Tamar's life was shattered, her future as a virgin princess stolen. When David heard of this atrocity, he was furious, but his fury never turned into action. He did nothing. He did not discipline Amnon. He did not confront Tamar. Perhaps it was his love for his firstborn. Perhaps it was guilt from his own past sins. Whatever the reason, his inaction would have grave consequences. For 2 long years, Tamar's brother Absalom carried his sister's shame in silence, nursing his rage. He watched as David did nothing. No justice, no punishment. And so, he decided to take matters into his own hands. During a royal feast, Absalom set his plan in motion. He waited until Amnon was drunk and gave the order. Amnon fell, slain by his brother's command. Blood for blood, justice for Tamar. But justice turned into exile. Absalom fled into Geshur, to the land of his mother's people. David mourned Amnon, but once again he failed to act. For 3 years he longed for Absalom, but never reached out. Finally, through the intervention of his general Joab, Absalom was allowed to return, but David refused to see him for another 2 years. What did this silence tell Absalom? That his father could not face him? That David, who had been quick to execute judgment on others, could not deal with his own house? Absalom fought for justice, yet he was treated as an outcast. The resentment grew, and so did his ambition. Absalom's rebellion was more than just a personal quest for revenge. It was a well-planned move for power, built on years of ignored injustice and deep family betrayal. Absalom slowly gathered support by winning the trust of the people. Whenever someone came to him looking for help or seeking justice, he offered a kind word and a warm embrace, making many feel that he truly cared about their struggles. In doing so, he began to turn public opinion against his father, King David, and presented himself as a better leader. In the middle of this uprising, another important figure stepped into the scene. His name was Ahithophel. Once one of David's wisest advisors, Ahithophel was now bitter and angry. He could not forget how David's actions hurt the royal family, especially the tragic death of Uriah and the dishonor brought to his own granddaughter Bathsheba. The wrongs done to her made it impossible for him to forgive David, and he began to see Absalom as a chance to bring about a new and better order. When his support was strong enough, Absalom made his move. He declared himself king, and David, the great warrior, the slayer of Goliath, and the conqueror of nations, was now forced to flee from his own son. But fate, it seemed, would have little mercy for those who sowed seeds of betrayal. In the chaos of a fierce battle, Absalom's downfall was as dramatic as it was tragic. While fleeing through the dense forest, his long flowing hair became entangled in the branches of a massive oak tree. Despite his frantic struggles, he was left suspended, vulnerable and exposed as Joab and his men closed in and ended his life. David, upon hearing the news, wept bitterly. "Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I had died instead of you." His cry was not just for Absalom, but for all that had led to this moment, for the silence, for the lost years, for the wounds that festered into rebellion. David's failure to confront sin within his own family had devastating effects. His personal mistakes, especially his sin with Bathsheba and the murder of Uriah, cast a long shadow over his household. The prophet Nathan had warned him, "The sword will never depart from your house." And so it was. From David's story, we learn these lessons. Number 1. Parenting requires action. Proverbs chapter 22 verse 6 tells us, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." But training requires correction, guidance, and discipline. Ignoring problems does not make them disappear. Number 2. Avoiding difficult conversations can lead to disaster. David's failure to confront Amnon emboldened Absalom. His refusal to face Absalom pushed his own son further into rebellion. Unaddressed wounds only deepen. Number 3. Even the greatest heroes of faith were flawed. David was a man after God's own heart, yet he failed in many ways. His story is a reminder that our mistakes don't define us. God's grace is bigger than our failures. David's life is a story of victory and heartbreak, of wisdom and regret, but above all, it is a story of redemption. If God could use David despite his failings, he can use us too. If this video resonated with you, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth Bible content. See you next time.